Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to episode number 6 of the Profitable Mindset Podcast, where today I'm going to talk about how to find customers that will value your products. Before I dive into that topic, though, I want to invite you to attend a free training that I'm giving on June 7th. It's all online. You don't have to be anywhere in person. And it's called 4 Mistakes Costing You Sales on the Farm. And it doesn't matter whether you sell in a farm store on your farm, or if you sell at farmers markets, or maybe you're doing drop sites or deliveries. You are going to learn a lot from this training. And our free trainings are a lot of fun. I try to do them every quarter. And last quarter, we had over 800 farmers from all over the US and Canada, but also around the world signed up to that training. And I love seeing you guys in the comments, meeting each other and just finding like-minded people no matter where you live. So I hope you join me. 4 Mistakes Costing You Sales on the Farm. To sign up, you can go to 3cowmarketing.com/6. And the link will be in the show notes there. Or if you're on iTunes, I'll post the link in the iTunes show notes as well. So I would love to see you June 7th. Okay, now let's move on to one more thing I want to do is to spotlight a listener, because a podcast is only a podcast because of its listeners, you guys. And we've had some incredible support and comments. And so I'm going to shout out to one of you guys each week. So please leave those reviews on iTunes. It helps the algorithm know that I have something that will help farmers. So this week's shout out is to Nick Bailey of Grandview Farm in Maryland. And he said, he titled it Perfect Podcast. He says, we've been producing and direct marketing pasture-raised provisions since 2012, so we can say with confidence that Charlotte's information is gold. She's a very effective communicator and has a talent for taking seemingly complex marketing and business hurdles and breaking them down into appropriate, actionable steps. Oh my gosh, thank you, Nick. That was really awesome. And I also appreciate that you emailed. We got to email back and forth too. I love nothing more than meeting you guys, whether it's in person when I'm speaking at events or even in my email inbox, and of course through the reviews here. So this is a pretty incredible community, and I just thank you for letting me be here. So let's move into today's topic. Again, it's called How to Find Customers That Will Value Your Products. The reason I'm bringing this up now is I hear from a lot of you guys in emails and private messages and even comments that you're leaving on social media that you're struggling to sell because you live in an area where people don't value your farm fresh products enough to pay the higher prices for it that we have to charge. And then you tell me that if you lived in an area where people valued farm fresh products and were willing to pay more for it, you'd be more successful. So if this sounds like you, please know that you're not alone, and I've got some help for you. I've also had people tell me that it's easy for me to build a profitable farm because I live near a foodie city, because I live near Portland, Oregon, and that's the only reason I can charge a sustainable price. You know, we're about an hour from that city. Well, I've got something to tell you. You might not realize this, but do you know what foodies are looking for? They're looking for cheap, good deals on farm fresh products. I'm not kidding you. All the local foodie type groups around here people are posting or discussing how to find the cheapest grass-fed beef, for instance, or the cheapest raw milk or eggs or whatever it is. I'm telling you, the truth is, and the fact is, there's no one place in the world today where you will find a group of people who want to pay more than the average person does for food. There is no city full of people like this, or there's no one area in our country where you can find a group of people willing to pay more. Everywhere you go, people do not automatically understand our necessary higher prices for farm products. And that's because our society is conditioned to expect cheap food. So if that's the case, if they're conditioned to expect cheap food, what can you and I do? Well, I've got lots of help coming up. But first of all, I want to tell you that it does not serve us to get frustrated that we can't find these people, or impatient, or even angry. I've heard from several of you that you get angry when people question your prices. You say things like, "Don't they understand?" Well, they really don't understand. And the more you think that you're getting frustrated because they don't understand why your food is more expensive, or even any farm fresh product, then this defeated sense that you feel will hold you back. This is an important mindset shift I want you to make, that you will struggle to be successful or to feel successful in your marketing as long as you hang on to this mindset that you're frustrated that people don't understand or value your farm fresh products. Then, if that's the case, if none of us live in a place where people value the higher cost of our farm fresh products, whether that's flowers or vegetables or meat or milk and all the things, what are we to do? Well, the first thing is, it's really important, and it helped me a lot to understand why this is the case in our society. Why don't people value paying more for farm fresh products that you and I know are so much higher quality than anything you can buy in a grocery store? And they're changing people's lives too. They're helping them in many cases be healthier in a lot of ways. But it's really been this way since the early 1900s. This was when the Depression was going on and people were really hurting. They had no jobs, there was no money, they had no food, and there were long lines for things like bread. A man's work was to get a cup of coffee in the morning at his house and then go stand in line as long as it took to get a loaf of bread to feed his family. There was this particularly poignant story I read of a man who stole a loaf of bread so his 4 kids wouldn't starve. And then soon after that, he was found dead in his basement where he'd hanged himself in shame for what he had to do for survival. So this was a really desperate time. Imagine being president of the United States during that time, knowing the people who voted for you are dying of starvation. So our presidents during that decade of the Depression worked really hard to ensure we'd always have cheap food available. They made promises that we'd never have another time like this. They never wanted to experience people starving again. That's when all these programs that we still see today were created. They had food and farm subsidies. Food production costs were cut as much as possible. And they created the food stamp program. They also started making processed food much cheaper than a small-scale family farm could ever make food. And this was the start of hundreds and now thousands of farms going out of business every year. Also, our president made public verbal promises that people would not experience hunger and starvation like this again. And guess what? We still live with this mindset today in our society. It's been handed down with each generation. I remember as a child visiting and eating with my grandparents who lived through the Depression, and of course, my parents who were raised by their Depression-minded parents, and all the things both my parents and grandparents did to stretch food so that there was never any food waste. That was really important, and it was a really bad thing to waste food. As long as I've known, I've always been conditioned to expect food to be cheap. I honestly didn't understand why it was more costly, actually, until I started my own farm 10 years ago. Only then did I realize how expensive it is to produce our farm fresh products on our small scale. No matter what they are, really, flowers or vegetables or meat or eggs or milk and even livestock. It took me doing it myself to realize the high cost of our products. Even though up until that time, I'd been reading articles and books on it, it truly wasn't until I had my own experience farming that I finally got it, that farm fresh food can't be cheap or the farmer will go out of business. So today, really, there's nothing I love more than one of my own customers deciding to get their own chickens for eggs, for instance. So they'll say something like, oh, then we don't have to buy eggs anymore. It's pretty funny. But guess what? They get their own chickens, and in about 6 to 12 months, guaranteed, they're right back shopping with us. As a matter of fact, they often want to give us their chickens, and they say they couldn't believe that it's far cheaper and easier to buy their eggs from us than to try to raise their own. They had no idea of the work involved and the commitment and the cost of having backyard chickens. So I love that because then they become my most loyal customers. I've also had families who try to raise their own meat chickens, or they even get their own milk cow or a dairy goat. And again, 100% of them report back they had no idea it was so much money and work. You and I need to understand this about our customers and our potential customers. They honestly and innocently have no idea why our food must be higher priced. I share this because some farmers will message me and they're super frustrated, or they're even angry and they say their customers don't get it. Or they tell me, I get so angry when people question my prices. Don't they know? And since I was a customer in my own customer's shoes 15 years ago before I started my own farm, I want you to have that awareness that the public truly doesn't understand why our prices are higher. And when you recognize and accept this, that they don't understand, you'll start to come from a place of compassionately educating them instead of feeling anger and frustration or even getting offended. And this affects how you come across to people. So remember, there is no group, there's no organization that keeps all these people who want to pay premium prices for farm fresh products in one place. It just doesn't exist. And you can't let it get you down. This is the Profitable Mindset community for a reason. We've got to have the right mindset in our businesses. And thinking that we're being held back because people don't value the higher cost of farm fresh products won't serve us, nor will it help us build our sustainable businesses. It just doesn't serve us to think that we can't find these people. Instead, it's important to acknowledge and accept that it's this way. And then you'll start to think thoughts like, I'm curious, how can I be a success even in a culture that expects cheap food? When I come at my marketing from trying to figure out, it's like a game of how can I be a success with people who want cheap food, it really gets my creative juices going. And I have so many ideas for blog posts and Facebook and Instagram ads that people will relate to from this place of positively educating them or connecting with them on other values. Now, I agree with you. It's not fair because look at all the other, like across all socioeconomic levels, food is still considered a commodity. People with lower incomes look for cheap food, and I observe people with higher incomes look for cheap food too. Now, these are the same people that as they make more money, I mean, it really is kind of a tendency in our culture that as people make more money, they spend more money on more expensive houses, more expensive cars and clothes and jewelry, but they will still brag about the screaming cheap deal they got on a case of steaks at Costco, or they'll comment how they're going to buy a half a beef cow from their neighbor because it's really cheap because they're cutting out the middleman, or at least that's their reasoning. So even among higher income brackets where people pay many times more for other things like houses and clothes and cars, they're still conditioned to expect cheap food. Now that we understand this, it's important to realize it's not worth a moment arguing with it or being mad about it or feeling disappointed. It's just the way it is. So if there's no hidden stash of foodies willing to pay more money for farm fresh products, what can you and I do? Well, if you want customers to value what you sell, you've got to learn to show them the value that is anything but the price. Leave the price shoppers to places like Walmart and the grocery stores and Amazon. Discount sales are their marketing. They have a very clear path of doing discounts at certain times of each and every month and every season. That is their total marketing plan, but that's not for you and I. It just won't work. We could never be cheap enough to compete with them. What happens if you try to market your products based on price is then you attract people who want to buy from you because it's a good deal. And as soon as they perceive it's not cheap enough, like I've had an experience with a lot of farmers where they will farm for a season or maybe a year, and then they realize how much money they're losing, and so they raise their prices. But because they've marketed people based on what a great value it is, all those people leave, because instead of building a relationship based on the values besides price, they've just based it on price. So people think, oh, it's not as good of a deal anymore. I'm going to go find another farm to buy from where it is a good deal. And you lose all those customers. Instead, I'm going to teach you how to market to people based on their values. And this is not a price. How do you do that? How do you know what their values are? Your customers are telling you every day. And when you learn to listen to their conversations and you look for this information in their emails to you, or maybe on their social media comments, when you really pay attention to what's important to them, they are already telling you this. And you just need to reflect what they're telling you in your marketing. And this might be on your website, or it might be in emails or Facebook or Instagram posts. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. One of my customers came to me because she decided that by the time her 40th birthday rolled around, she wanted to look and feel better after having 4 kids than she ever has in her life. So she signed up for a marathon and she began researching online how to look and feel amazing at 40 and be in the best shape of her life. Well, her online research led her to all these workouts, of course, but she also read a lot about how if she improved how she ate, she'd reach her goal faster and easier too. And so in some of those online searches to look amazing after 4 kids, she became aware if she ate food directly from a farm, she'd look and feel amazing. And because I use these kinds of values in my own marketing of my own products, my website came up in one of her searches to look and feel amazing at 40. So guess what? She called me. We had a conversation. She became a loyal customer who never questions the price I need to charge to be sustainable, because she'd pay any price to reach her goal of looking great at 40. And it's not just that, it's whatever goal or struggle a person has, price is no object. It's not a concern. If you have a product that will help them reach that goal, they're going to pay the price we need to charge. When people are working from their own values to reach their goals or to solve their problems, you've then moved your farm product from being a commodity to something that customer needs to have to reach her goal. She's got to have it. So she's not going to look at the price. That's not the first thing she looks at. When this happens, oh my goodness, those people are willing to pay so much more for our products that help them reach their goals in life. And I know this happens to you and I too. Okay. And it might be that goal of looking fabulous at 40, but it also might be a goal of having a moment of peace, strolling through your You Pick flower garden, picking a bouquet to take home. That's what one of my marketing students realized is important to her customers. And again, the cost of the bouquet doesn't matter at all, because they were able to have this peaceful moment after an incredibly busy day. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of farmers will say, oh, I can't charge much more than I already charge, because that's what flowers or eggs or meat are going for in my area. But this shows you that you're not selling flowers. In this case, my marketing student was selling peace and calm in an otherwise stressful day. Or like I was selling to my customer at age 40, look and feel amazing at 40 after 4 kids. That's what I'm selling. And that can apply to any of our products when you learn to listen to your customers. Let me give you another example. One of my marketing students received this text message from her customer who said, "For the first time, dinner's a breeze with your meat. For some reason, my kids argue about eating meat from the store, but they never argue when I cook with your meat." The value here is a stress-free dinner where kids don't argue with what you cooked. And I know personally, with 3 kids of my own, I would pay any amount of money for your product to have that going on in our house. And again, something like this customer's comment would make the perfect Instagram or Facebook post or comment on your website near your meat products. Because if this is happening for one person, one of your customers, it could happen for a lot more of your customers, and they would really be attracted to having that same experience. Now you can really see that what makes most farmers like you and I think our product is valuable is not what makes our customers think our product is valuable. As farmers, we value our farming practices, and we think that that's why our customers are coming to us. For instance, they're coming to us because of our rotational grazing system, or our special organic feed blend that's locally milled, or maybe how clean and sanitary our process is. Now, that's important to us, and it's important to our product, but that's not how you market your products to your customers. I thought this exact same thing when I started my farm 10 years ago, and I learned the hard way and the slow way that it is not our farmers' values, that's not the reason people buy our products. So it's really important that you understand this, and you will become profitable sooner. So the best way to build a loyal customer base of people who will absolutely pay the prices you need to charge to be profitable and sustainable with no argument and no questioning is to learn to talk to them about what they value. Talk to your customers about what's important to you, like I've shown you here, and they'll respond, and you'll quickly and steadily become successful. I see this all the time with our marketing students. When they learn to listen to what their customers are saying, and they reflect that in their marketing, they build a very loyal customer base very steadily. So you're, of course, going to keep your own values. You know, as farmers are going to keep our values of how we move our animals to fresh grass every 12 hours or every 24 hours, or we're going to value the special breed that we're raising on our farm. But just know that these are not the values you market with. You market your products based on your customers' values. And your responsibility as part of building your profitable farm is to communicate these values people are sharing by sharing these little stories and the texts they're sending you. Dinner with no arguing from the kids, oh my gosh, that's worth any cost to a busy mom. And get this, looking and feeling amazing at your 30-year high school reunion. Guys, I'm a woman in my 50s. I would pay anything to look great at my 30-year reunion, and so would a lot of other women. That's what we're selling. These are the things our customers are telling us that they want our products for. That's what you're selling. Remember, your customers are already telling you these things. So these are the values that you're going to turn into blog posts and Facebook and Instagram posts. Only then will you build this loyal customer base of people who value your products no matter what the price, because you've communicated all these other benefits based on their values. And then when you do have to raise your prices, whether that's once a year or whatever you decide is important on our farm, you will not lose any customers either. Me on our farm and most all of our marketing students report back that they never lose a customer when they increase their prices. And that's because they've learned to market their products based on other values, not price. Okay, hope this all makes sense. It's not the farmer's values that will draw in a group of people who value your products. You'll struggle to find enough people to pay your prices when you market based on your farming practices. Instead, it's the customer's values that when you learn to reflect those values on your website and in your marketing will bring people flocking to you without regard to price. I see this every single day with my farmers I teach and consult with. And these people who will pay your prices no matter what are everywhere. They're in every city. They're in small rural communities. They're way out of town. Everywhere you've got people, you will have people who will buy your products because you've shared with them the value that they can relate to, and they will gladly pay the price we need to charge. Now you've taken your product from a commodity to something people value greatly and are happy to pay for it. Okay. That's what I got for you today. And remember the two things, please sign up for my free training taking place on June 7th called 4 Mistakes Costing You Sales on the Farm. And again, go to 3cowmarketing.com/6. You will find the sign up link there. And also the other thing, because my podcast is new, I'm asking all of you to please write a review on iTunes for me. And if you do write a review, you can enter into a weekly drawing for a free review of either your website or social media account. I'm going to give you feedback on things you can improve upon to increase sales and followers. I've already done 2 names from the first 2 weeks. We're doing this for the first 6 weeks of the podcast. I would love to work with you. So please go to iTunes and leave a review. That's what tells iTunes that I have something to share with farmers that will really help them. So I would really super appreciate that. And guess what? I can't wait to see you on June 7th, those of you who sign up. And I'll talk to you next time in the Profitable Mindset too. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablemindset.com. See you next time.